All sorts of future models of working are being touted by all sorts of organizations at the moment, but the one that seems to be emerging as a strong favorite is the one that McKinsey calls the hybrid virtual model. In this, some of the workforce are on premises whilst others work from home. At first glance, this seems an attractive model with many benefits, and I guess many viewers and listeners may consider some version of it. But then I thought again, it's okay during the coronavirus pandemic, but will it work long term and deliver the right productivity and a happy workforce? To get the answers for you, I turn once again to the world's leading independent assessor of employee workplace experience, Leesman and Deputy CEO, Allison English. Again, welcome, Allison.
Thanks, Malcolm. It's great to be here.
Allison, in my opening piece there, I just talked about the so-called hybrid virtual model being the future. As a workplace expert, what's your thinking?
I think what COVID has done is accelerate what organizations were doing prior to COVID and so many people having to work from home. We've seen a gradual shift in more and more people and organizations working one day, perhaps a week from home or something like that. And what COVID has done is accelerate a trend that was already happening. So I think in terms of the future hybrid model, it's going to be very difficult for organizations to start mandating everybody come back to the office and these types of things. So I personally think hybrid is here to stay. On what level and how that works in different organizations and different teams, that's a whole nother topic because they're so different. But in the broad sense of it, yes, I think hybrid working is here.
Interesting. Companies like Yahoo and HP Hewlett-Packard have found that in the past, 2013, in Yahoo's case, that the downsides of remote working far outweighed the positive. But that was 7 years ago. Have times changed that much? What did the recent Leesman study find?
So we've started assessing home working as of earlier this year in April, really, when all of this kicked off. And we're seeing that for some people, it's working brilliantly. For other people, they're really struggling. So it's some areas around connectivity to colleague and organization, work-life balance. There are some big challenges, but that's not to say that it can't be done. Certainly from a technological standpoint, things have changed from 2013. It's much easier to virtually connect with people than it was then. So the tech has certainly improved to facilitate working from home. But we also know that there are some activities, some benefits of the office that just can't be replicated in the home environment. So I think the key for organizations is figuring out where a home base, where an office, what value it has to that particular organization, and making sure the office supports that. And then if they're going to go with this hybrid model and have people also working from home, have the right support in place for people to be able to do both.
So let's keep our focus on the workforce. There's plenty of stories around that working from home is causing mental health problems. But there are other things to be considered, such as erosion of trust, cohesion, collaboration, camaraderie. Can these be overcome?
I think overcome, perhaps, I think that's a bit too strong. I think we can, for many people, there are steps to put in place to help mitigate some of those challenges. For some people, working from home is just not going to work, depending on the role that they have, depending on the type of person that they are, depending on their home environment. There's so many factors at play because we're not all just working from home because there's a global pandemic outside, right? There's a certain fear associated with that for a lot of people. So there are too many variables and too many factors, I think, to make it terribly black and white. But there are endless then opportunities for leaders and for organizations to be able to step in and help, as you'd said, overcome some of those challenges to make that working for employees and for the workforce.
Now, if a leader is considering this hybrid model, do you think a danger may be that two distinct cultures may emerge with, say, those in the premises and those working from home? If that happened, I could see things going quickly wrong. What's your thoughts, and how could it be leveled out?
A risk certainly is if there's no connection to the office, then there's certainly a risk that employees will be and feel disenfranchised. That's something we're already seeing in the home working data. Again, that challenge with connection to the organization, regardless of the company you work for. When people come together and come to an office, there's the branding in the office that reminds you of the organization. Even if it's a bit of paint on the walls, if it's a logo, it's some of these elements that are, I think, overlooked, and we didn't appreciate them before. A lot of that can really help bring that cohesiveness to employees and the people in that space. So there's absolutely a risk if there is a divide between those who go into the office and those who don't, of having two camps, which I think the hybrid model for many employees will be most successful if they're going down that route to bring in some sort of balance. So having a reason for people to come into the office and then a separate reason for them to be at home, rather than a mandated, you must come to the office. There needs to be an attraction. There needs to be a draw. So figuring out what that is for your team, and then creating the space and the environment to bring people together.
Excellent. The hybrid model is all about optimizing the business for the future, or it should be. What factors need to be considered here? I can think of office cost savings, but putting your Leesman expert hat on, what about the workforce?
The workforce needs to go to a space that suits what they need to be there for. I was talking to a client earlier today who is estimating in future, they may need 20% fewer desks in the office with what their potential hybrid working would look like. And his question is, okay, so does this then go to the bottom line? As you said, is it a cost saving, or are we repurposing the space? And what I challenged him with is, when people come into the office now, it's going to be more purposed. It's going to be more intentional. It's not going to be a place where employees go Monday to Friday because they have to go. But also people who used to collaborate very easily in the office are now going to most likely be working with more people who are remote. So some of that space is going to need to be repurposed to, what's been termed Zoom rooms. So you can more easily video conference in an open plan environment. Everyone's sitting around a table and 6 different people are on conference calls. That's going to be really challenging. So it's a matter of making sure that the space fits the workforce and what that workforce of the future looks like, but also not drawing a line in the sand to say, okay, this is what we're developing it for the next 10 years. It needs to be mobile. It needs to be flexible, because we don't know what the workforce of the future looks like. If we, talk a year from now, it could look different depending on where things have gone with the virus and a number of other factors. So keeping that open mind, I think, and making sure you're planning for the best you can for your workforce.
Allison English of Leesman Index, and the URLs behind me there. You've stimulated lots of thinking and got me thinking too as well. Thanks very much indeed.
Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.